Welcome back. This is Hope at Dawn right here at Hope TV, where you look and live. My name is Gichuru.
And my name is Beatrice Watare. And of course, the very big news today is very, very, very sad. There was a plane crash that happened, actually a chopper. And I see here Kenya mourns General Francis Ogola, who was killed in a military chopper crash in Elgeyo Marakwet alongside 9 other gallant members of the military. A decorated chief of defense forces who served in office for slightly under a year. He was described by President Ruto as a valiant general who died in the line of duty and in the service of the country. And a quote from President Ruto saying that the demise of General Ogola is a painful loss to me, and certainly the sorrow we all feel about his passing is shared by all people of Kenya, and especially the KDF fraternity. A distinguished 4-star general has fallen in the course of duty and service to the country. This is from President William Ruto. Very, very, very unfortunate. And this is a story that has been covered in 2, 3, 4, and 5. And on the 3rd page here, I see what is happening is Ogola's last moments in troubled North Rift. Helicopter carrying General Ogola crashed on the border of Elgeyo Marakwet and West Pokot counties. He had just addressed soldiers deployed in Kerio Valley to enhance security. And just shortly after taking off at the Chesegon along the border of Elgeyo Marakwet and West Pokot counties, the plane carrying the Chief of Defense Forces, General Francis Omondi Ogola, and his entourage dropped from skies and burst into flames. And the tragic crash happened at 2:20 p.m. That is yesterday at Sinda area, Cabin location. And it's very, very, very sad. Very, very, very unfortunate. And just on the same, we have had a puzzle of 5 helicopters crashes in 12 months.
Wow.
So Kenya Air Force yet to publicly release accident probe reports. The accidents have raised concern in the aviation sector.
Yeah.
We have had 5 helicopter crashes in the last 12 months. Military top. Okay, so on the other page 5, I see military top shots likely to succeed Ogola, still on the same of who now is to take the place. That is on page 5 of the Standard. The head of state promoted Major General David Kimayo Taras to the rank of Lieutenant General and appointed him the commander of the Kenya Army. It's really, really sad, and our prayers go to these families that have been heavily affected. I don't know, what are they saying on the same news on the Daily Nation?
On the Daily Nation also, it's the same final salute. And
Yeah.
they have a picture there of General Francis Ogola. And tragedy, as President William Ruto also declared 3 days of national mourning beginning today. This is after the Chief of Defense Forces, Francis Ogola, dies in a helicopter crash that also claimed the lives of 9 others. So in total, there were 10 deaths in that helicopter crash. And extensively, the nation has covered this story on pages 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And some of the other victims, actually, we have Brigadier Swale Saidi, Colonel Duncan Keitani, Lieutenant Colonel David Sawe, Major George Magondu. We have Captain Sora Mohammed, Captain Hilary Litali, Senior Sergeant John Kenywa Mureithi, Sergeant Cliffons Omondi, and Sergeant Rose Nyawira were the other victims in the ill-fated helicopter crash. And you can read that on pages 2, 3, and 4. Francis Ogola, general who had big dreams for the KDF, that is on page 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And April month stands out in Ogola's military life. President said he chose Ogola despite allegations against him on the 2022 polls, beginning and end. He joined military in April, and his time in the forces came to an end in the same month, years later. You can read that on page 4. Page 5, Ruto mourns valiant patriotic soldiers. The president declares 3 days of national mourning from today, and during the 3 days of national mourning, the flags will fly at half-mast. That was what the president declared yesterday. And schools repair mission turns tragic. Helicopter in which the military boss was traveling in crashed shortly after taking off in West Pokot. General Ogola had gone to launch project to repair classrooms damaged by bandits. So you can read that inside that was on page 6 inside the Daily Nation. So extensively covered as well the sad story of the demise of General Francis Ogola there.
Yes, and also it's important to note that there were only 2 survivors in the accident as well, which I think is also a miracle in itself. Looking at the nature of the crash, it was really, really bad. The blowing up and everything was really, really bad. And these 2 survivors, we are really praying for their quick recovery and that they will get back and that God will also shield them from the trauma, because I'm imagining just how difficult this can be. And may we continue to pray for our nation. It is important for us to keep praying for our nation. The accidents, and these crashes and everything. We've had 4 helicopter crashes in the last 12 months. So we need to keep praying for our nation so that God will have mercy on us and help us so that we will not keep losing lives, and especially such important people in our country. But moving on, I see here on the Pulse pull out here, I see podcast power. Gigi, we told you you need to invest in that area.
I remember.
We have been training you here slowly by slowly, but listen to this. Podcast numbers at a glance. So according to Spotify Rap 2023, the 3 most listened to podcast Kenya are This Is Love, TMI, and then It's Related, I Promise, and then we have 464 million. There are over 464 million podcast listeners worldwide, which is projected to reach 504.9 million by 2024, the end of it. So literally, this thing is making money. I'm telling you, don't joke. But I see here on the Pulse page 6, you probably have a favorite podcast, and more celebrities are making them. This is fueled by, among other things, a desire to own and control their own story, writes Mkala Mwangesha. You can look at that story on page 6. If you have a podcast, thinking of opening a podcast like Gigi here, you can definitely go here, and I believe you will get all the advice you need with that regard. And I see also here something very, very interesting here. It is to be known but that President William Ruto donated 1 million to Dedan Kimathi University, and when the students were asked to vote, or rather to decide how do they want the money to be used. And apparently they said igawanywe kila mtu apate yake.
I would want to know how many students there are.
So apparently from that 1 million, each student got 180 shillings. But listen to the twist of it, Gigi. A Kenyan university student daily budget is actually 200 shillings. So with 180, I'm telling you,
one day was sorted.
One day was sorted. They were able to eat well. They were able to do what they need. And I see here it has been very much well divided. In a tough economic time, university students have learned how to survive using shoestring budget to meet their daily needs. Here is a picture of how a student budgets for 200 to manage their needs all day long. So even for those who think you can't survive on 200, Paul, breakfast, lunch, and supper, mind you, not for breakfast alone.
We need to go for benchmarking.
We need benchmarking. I see here for a comrade with a gas cylinder or coil and prefers to cook for themselves. This is an effective way to spend the 200 shillings. This whole meal is usually both lunch and supper and very economical. Number 1, maize flour, 140 shillings, which lasts for 2 to 3 days. Kale kadogo. Collard greens, sukuma wiki, 10 shillings. Cooking oil, 20 bob. Cooking ingredients, tomatoes and onions, 20 bob. Data bundles or airtime, which is very much important. That is 10. And mind you, if you want to go to the Kibandaski or local hotels way, breakfast budget, mandazi ni shilingi 10, 2 chapatis at 30 shillings, lunch budget, 2 chapatis 30 bob, bean soup, which is usually free. This meal is popularly known as katakata. Unakatakatiwa, saa zingine huwa wanatoa pieces. You need to put it, you see if it adds up to 1 chapati. Alafu here, there is a variety to choose from depending depending on your appetite. Ugali, yani I'm telling you, with 200 shillings.
Yeah.
Either you want to go kibandaski way or you want to cook for yourself.
Yeah.
It is very much possible. Learn to survive. That's how college students do their thing.
Yeah.
But on the back page, looking at some sports news, Arteta urges Arsenal to use Bayern pain to fuel title bid. English sides Arsenal and Manchester City knocked out of Champions League. Sweet revenge for Real Madrid as they beat Man City on penalties to reach semis now.
Good news.
Very, very good news, yeah. Page 40, that is. And going on to page 38, I see Eldoret City Marathon to have an exciting 10-kilometer fun run. A number of athletes were expected to arrive in Eldoret last evening for the Sunday extravaganza. And fans that will not be on the streets of Eldoret will follow the action as well online. And I see Tebogo ready to show why he is one of Africa's best sprinters. That is on page 39.
Right. Inside the Daily Nation, we can see some news there. Joey now questions the legality of death sentence. High Court judge found him guilty of killing businesswoman Monica Kimani at her city home. He says laws that prescribe the sentence be found in contravention of the Constitution. He argues that the section is unconstitutional as it denies persons sentenced to death the right to bail pending appeal. The petitioner prays for a declaration that the death penalty is torture, cruel, inhumane and degrading form of punishment prohibited by the Constitution. He also argues the penalty imposed on him for the killing of Monica Kimani violated his right to life, which is protected by the same Constitution. And Joey wants the court to declare that all other laws that prescribe a death penalty are inconsistent with and in contravention of the Constitution. In the petition, Joey wants to be compensated for infringement of rights as dictated by the Constitution. So let's see how that goes. You can read in details page 10 inside the Daily Nation. I also see there is a pullout today, DN2 pullout. They have titled the same The Voice, and they're saying sexual violence, unmasking the 6 W's of the vice that we should all know. It's on page 3, and then there is pain of battered men, lonely cry, while Kenya progresses in fighting domestic violence. Many men are imprisoned to silence despite suffering frequent domestic abuse behind closed doors. You can read that inside the D2 pullout, which is The Voice today, and get to learn a thing or two about the same. International and scene, climate change driven heat exacts heavy toll. There are hundreds, probably thousands of heat related deaths. Doctors in Mali say they have seen more and more cases of dehydration. You can read that. We will defend ourselves, Netanyahu says. West calls for restraint. Israel will make its own decisions about defending itself, according to the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, as Western countries plead for restraint in responding to an attack by Iran. So that also you can read. From the county news, Linturi decries low uptake of cheap fertilizer in coast. CS says the challenge of substandard fertilizer has been addressed. I also see in Trans Nzoia County, Natembea ready to pay the price for Western Region Unity campaign. Read that on page 24. In Kajiado, wealthy family in a 2 billion shillings land dispute. Right, it's on page 24. And I also see counties urged to do away with some levies. Many levies imposed by county governments scare potential investors away. Businesses in the North Rift now say. Read that on page 23. Then I see this is where the back page. Before we go to the back page, let's look at the business section. Construction main culprit in cleaning dirty money, says report. Over half of private companies fingered for money laundering are in the construction sector, according to a government report that sheds fresh light on the prevalence of shady dealings in the cash-intensive sector. I also see payslip holds key to cheaper homes buying. in draft rules. Hustlers hit as applicants must produce proof of ability to finance the purchase. That's in the business section on page 28. Back page, some good news. State doctors hopeful of strike end after meeting. Government appears to have softened its stance on talks.
Wow.
And the Doctors Union expected to hold meeting with Health Ministry and the governors today. So we are praying and hoping that we will have a major breakthrough after those twin meetings today with the Health Ministry and also with the governors. Why legislators want registration for new health fund halted. There is a parliamentary committee which now wants the ongoing registration of Kenyans into the new social health insurance fund that is set to replace the NHIF halted. The legislators called for the suspension of the registration to the new health insurance scheme due to lack of transparency on the system being used for the exercise. Right, now we go to the sports pages. Catch us if you can. Gor coach McKinstry dares Leopards. CS Owalo challenges Gor Mahia to beat Leopards in Mashemeji Derby. And then Premier League left sweating on extra Champions League places. That's on page 39. You haven't seen nothing yet. Omanyala Tebogo tell fans Africa's fastest man and the world 100 meters silver medalist predict better performances from Africa this season. That is in as far as the 2024 Kipkeino Classic, which is on tomorrow. Nyayo hosts Kenyan leg of World Athletics Continental Tour Gold Series. Kipchoge focused on retaining his marathon title. That is Eliud Kipchoge. You can read that on page 38. And finally, the Business Daily, 10,000 private firms reported for money laundering deals. Construction sector accounts for half of firms reported. Kenya is among 21 countries recently grey-listed. I also see proof of income headache for cheaper home loan applicants. Applicants seeking to buy units in the state's affordable housing program would be required to present proof of income, the government has said in proposed regulations. Mama mboga, mtu wa boda boda, proof itatoka wapi na pesi? Kuuliza tu.
Noma sana. Ni swali tu. But anyway, it is well.
It is well.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Yes. So I believe that prayers are working. I mean, you know, the story about the health workers and all that. I mean, for me, I love to see that one of the two giants have decided, let me go down kidogo.
It's the one especially who wields the power.
Exactly.
But to tame yourself.
Mwenye uko juu ndio unakaa chini, ndio God pia kuinua. Si ndio? And they are the bigger person either way. So they just have to be themselves.
Yeah, be yourself.
But anyway, we've come to the end of the newspaper review. You can grab a copy of your favorite, but remember pia hapa tunakupa taarifa jinsi zinavyokuja on Dira at 7 p.m. as well as News Watch at 9 p.m. Pale Hope FM as well. You can tune in, get to enjoy the programs, and at the top of every hour, you get to be updated on what's happening in our country. Let's continue to pray. Prayers are working. You may think that they don't have any effect, but they do, and they really, really do. When God places you mzigo kwa roho yako, nasikia I need to pray for my country, Kenya. Keep praying. Make sure as you pray, you're praying for your country so that as it prospers, you too are going to prosper. We take a short break as we look at the music video of the day. We'll come back, talk a little bit about it, and then usher in today's conversation.